All right. And so we have about a good minute and a half before we actually go live on air. Good morning to everyone on Facebook. I hope everyone is having a great day so far. It is Thursday. We're almost at the finish line. For those of us who have the weekend off, I have some very special guests with me. This is Jessica Parker, or the Mrs. I'm sorry.
Jessica Parker's fine.
Okay, Jessica Parker and Jonathan Edwards. They are from Mid South Health Systems in conjunction with Arissa. No, like you said it wrong.
That was
Okay. Arissa Health. We'll be talking about mental health court and some other things, everything in between. But we don't want to get too deep in the conversation because we don't want to leave anybody out, especially those listening on air. So everyone, grab a pen, paper, grab a coffee, whatever you need. Get comfortable and join this conversation. You might know someone who can utilize the services that we'll be discussing on today. I am very grateful that you all joined me. We could never talk enough about mental health issues and treatment and other options that are available for people, especially if it's going to keep them out of jail or prison for something that they could receive treatment on. But again, don't want to get too deep into that. We're about to go live. Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday to you. You're tuned in to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. My special guests today are Jessica Parker and Jonathan Edwards from Mid South Health Systems in conjunction with Arissa Health. Thank you all for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
All right, Jonathan. So, as is protocol here, we do ladies first.
Okay.
And so, Miss Jessica, can you please tell us, a little bit more about yourself and the role you play, the position you held, I'm sorry, with Mid South, and then we'll get into our discussion after Mr. Jonathan gives his introduction.
Sure. My name is Jessica Parker. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I am the mental health court coordinator, also known as Project Second Chance coordinator for Crittenden County. I have been with Mid South Health Systems, Arissa Health, for 3 years now, and I have been the mental health court coordinator for about 2.5 years. I've been in the mental health field for about 5 years now. So that is pretty much it about me.
All righty, Jonathan.
I'm Jonathan Edwards, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have been with Mid South Health Systems for a little over 10 years now. I started working with the mental health court back in December of 2014.
Oh,
And now I work in a role of special projects coordinator, but I do work closely with the mental health court coordinators. There's Mississippi County, Crittenden County, and Craighead County has one. So,
okay. We want to say good morning to a few people that are checking in before we get into our discussion. Ms. Gwen Henderson, all the way out in Arizona, my sister, thank you. Christy Mathis Conway, girl, you better come on with the questions and comments today. And Tyler Jackson and Shadun Duncan. Good morning. That's my team. And Tyler says good morning as well. So, all right, y'all, let's get into it. Mental health court. Tell the people who've never heard about it what exactly that is.
So, mental health court, also known as Project Second Chance, is a program in Craighead County, Crittenden County, and Mississippi counties that we offer to individuals who live with serious mental illness who have had some legal issues. So typically, we are looking at felony charges and Class A misdemeanors. And in that program, we work towards reducing recidivism and engaging these individuals in treatment versus having them in jail. Studies have shown that people who live with serious mental illnesses in jail do not get the treatment that they need. So, in conjunction with the Second Judicial District, we help them by having them plea into mental health court. And instead of going to prison or sitting in jail for extended periods of time, they get treatment through Mid South Health Systems. So we get them medication compliant, we get them case management services, we offer vocational assistance, housing assistance for those who need it, and they just get that wraparound service that they need.
That's absolutely amazing. Jonathan, oh, and also Mr. Brad Hyde checked in. Good morning to you as well. Would you like to add something to that?
Sure. So Judge Tanya Alexander presides over those three different mental health courts that Jessica has mentioned. And she has been in that role for, I think, around 4 years. And she does an excellent job in working with those participants. If there's issues with following program rules, probation issues like drug testing, things like that, those individuals can get support through the team, and the judge can offer disciplinary sanctions to help people get on track if there are issues along the way. And there are, and we do expect that. But ultimately, we want to reduce recidivism and see behavior modified so that those individuals can live in the community productive and successfully.
And let's talk about the impact of individuals going through your program versus going to jail. Of course, you mentioned that if they go through the jail system, they will most likely not get the help they need. And we've seen that across the nation. They will sit in a cell or sit in a space, not get the medication, depending on what their mental health issue is. And that can worsen whatever condition they have. And then it would cause them more problems because they're going to start acting out and possibly getting more trouble, get put in isolation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which just leads further down a path that they don't need to. They could have not gone down had they received the help they needed on the front end. So let's talk about the impact on the community and the impact maybe on the economy that the mental health court has. Like a teacher, I'll call names through y'all. So jump in, somebody.
Jonathan, I'll let you take the lead on that one.
All right. I was going to offer the ladies first approach. No, but I think what we do see is that we see some individuals when they get treatment, when they get stabilized on medication, when they're receiving regular therapy and support, these wraparound supports, that they start being more active in their families, that families sometimes will draw back in for relationships that were once disconnected. I've seen individuals go through the program that become more active in church. They become more active in helping other people receive supports and things that they now see benefiting themselves. They want to reach back out and they want to give. I've seen people get in recovery from substance abuse and things like that, which can really make the family environment, if they have children, much better. And there's just so many positives when people get this type of support for the community. When they're employed and they're able to stick with their job for longer than they've ever been able to stick with a job before, those are just great blessings that this program can help people out with.
And I want to mention some things on a flyer, some literature that I was not a flyer, some literature that I was reading concerning your program, and some things that stuck out. Learn new coping skills and life skills, gain independence, open housing options, and establish support system. And those are very important among the others listed. But I love the one about the learn new coping and life skills. There are times that even us that don't have diagnosed mental health issues, we face some hardships and some things in life. And if we don't learn how to cope with those things, those issues can quickly take us over. I can't imagine what it's like for someone who has a diagnosed condition, trying to learn to cope with everyday life, but not getting the treatment they need to cope and maintain a balanced life. I don't want to say normal. I'm not going to dare say normal, but some type of balance in their life. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the program phases. On this literature, it mentions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different phases. Regular court attendance, random drug alcohol testing, probation office visits, individual and group sessions, moral recognition. Help me with that word, please.
Recognition is correct.
Okay. So let's go through each of those, briefly and talk about, what those entail. starting with the regular court attendance.
So each week we have a status hearing with the entire team, including Judge Alexander, where each participant is able to discuss their progress, and we as a team are able to recognize that progress. And as Jonathan mentioned earlier, give sanctions if sanctions are needed. And so through those status hearings, we are better able to present a team effort, a team front, and let each participant know that we're all here to just offer support.
Okay.
One of the things, if I can chime in on that too, is that the court system for these individuals has largely been seen as adversarial. And we try to have that non-adversarial approach where the judge is giving praise, where the attorneys are giving praise for progress and things like that. So it kind of shifts the way that the court is viewed, not just as the bringer of discipline and of justice, but of somebody that cares about and supports the individual.
Okay. Awesome. And I would imagine that that creates a sense of ease and calmness with the individual who's receiving the treatment or the help in the court system. That can, for somebody like me, that can be a nerve-wracking experience. And I cannot imagine what it's like for someone who's already facing some difficulties with their mental health, going through that system. And individuals with mental health issues, especially diagnosed ones, they already feel ostracized in their communities, in their homes, and they already feel labeled and judged, and every other adjective you want to add there. And going through the court system is like being under another magnifying glass. And so I'm very grateful that the individuals and you all take the time to reshift, how they're viewed and how they're treated. Um, the next one, random drug and alcohol testing, and then talk about why this one is very important.
Sure.
So,
go for it, Jessica.
Okay, so we do conduct random drug and alcohol testing because our participants are on traditional probation while under our program. So the drug and alcohol testing is to assist with holding them accountable as well as the program accountable in terms of ensuring that there is no use, and if there is use, ensuring that we are able to offer them the support and treatment that they need for that.
Jonathan, if you want to chime in.
Oh, just getting that drug testing recommendations from the drug court model, which influenced the mental health court model that we use. We keep that drug testing consistent throughout all 5 phases of the program. We're trying to get at least 2 times a week that individuals are drug tested. And so it really is it's a significant amount of drug testing, but it's a great positive support too for individuals to maintain recovery from substance use.
All right. And then can you briefly talk about the short and long-term impact or implications of getting the drug and alcohol testing, and how that could interfere, or does it interfere, how it interferes possibly with the medication and treatment? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Anybody? I'm sorry, I'm having a moment.
Okay. So with the drug and alcohol testing, drug use and misuse can interfere with taking medications. So there's certain mental health medications that just won't work as well if individuals are using drugs or using alcohol and things like that. And so having the monitoring by doing the drug testing randomly like this can then help once we are able to say, hey, this individual is testing negative, they're passing their drug screens. Sometimes that means now that the medication, we can actually have a better, truer view of if the medication is working, how well it's working. The doctors can adjust those doses more confidently, understanding that there's nothing that is going to adversely affect how that medication may be absorbed or work.
All right, thank you. All right, probation office visits. Okay, this is Jessica.
So our probation office visits are about monthly here, and that is outside of our random drug testing. So our participants do go in and sit down with our court probation officer. So there's one probation officer for our court in Crittenden County. Each county has their own probation officer. And we try to continue this trauma-informed care, as Jonathan kind of alluded to earlier when we were talking about the courts, and form a relationship, have the probation officer form that one-to-one relationship with each participant, because it builds a rapport. And so our participants sometimes feel more comfortable sharing certain things with their probation officer versus their treatment provider. And it just brings everything and all of us together. So our probation officer here in Crittenden County is Constance Brown, and she recently transitioned into that role for us here. And our participants have truly taken to her in terms of just her approach and the way that she engages with them. And we've definitely seen a positive impact with our participants since she's come on board.
Okay, awesome. We have a comment from Ms. Christy. And good morning to Tanya Clark for checking in. Christy says, if on drugs, some people can have drug-induced psychosis. The absence of drugs gives us a clear picture of who and how a person really is. Yes. Okay, thank you so much for throwing that in. I can't even imagine, again, with someone with a mental health issue, some other drug that's not prescribed for them can have a really bad adverse effect on who they are and how they act. And I can imagine. God bless you all who work in the mental health field. I think I'm too much of a softie, and I want to take every case home and every case personal. And sometimes you can't do that, so it's not beneficial to the client. All right. So the next one is individual and group sessions, and then tell us why these are so important.
So our group sessions are the MRT sessions that you discussed earlier. So we do have a workbook that each participant is assigned at the beginning when they're first enrolled into mental health court, and they work through that workbook, and together we come together as a group and we discuss, and each participant presents as they complete their workbook, and it gives them a sense of camaraderie, because the only other time that we're all together in that way is when we're in court in front of the judge for those status hearings. So they get to kind of experience each other in a different way, and they get to share their stories amongst each other and let them know you're not alone in this. Individual therapy sessions focus on symptom management and psychoeducation, encouraging them to take control, and that this is not the final step. This is just the beginning. So let's learn some coping skills. Let's figure out how we can manage this. When you are having issues, let's talk about how that stress is impacting you and what we need to do to combat that. If we need to get you in with the medication provider to get some medications changed, just checking in, making sure everything is going well. And as the treatment provider, ensuring that we're keeping eyes on our clients, because sometimes, especially at the beginning of the program, they are not able to recognize these things for themselves. So we are pointing those things out for them and encouraging them to, when you're feeling this way or when you're noticing this, come on in, let's talk. What's going on and what do we need to do to get you back on track?
Okay. Jonathan, what have you noticed from individuals that have gone through the group and individual sessions? Just say within 3, 6, 9 months, however long the sessions are scheduled. What have you seen, of course, without telling any personal stories, the outcome of this?
Well, the thing that surprised me the most, I coordinated mental health court in Craighead County for a few years anyway, and I led the MRT group. That's the moral recognition therapy. And
Okay.
hearing individuals at graduation or in their exit interviews talking about how much that group meant to them. And really that group is about taking ownership of your stuff and the way that you present to other people, and acknowledging your role and how that has impacted things, but also in healing relationships and also setting goals for yourself that you can work toward in a positive way. And I didn't expect to hear so much feedback from individuals once they go through that group about how that has impacted them. I remember getting calls from a couple of our graduates after maybe 6 or 8 months about something that they had completed from one of their goals lists, and just how positive that was for them. And maybe I was better at group therapy than individual therapy, but I never heard any good stories about my individual therapy. But the group seemed pretty impactful, and just those individuals getting to share their stories and work on those things together, it had a good impact.
All right, thank you. So now let's get into who's eligible and who's not eligible, because I'm sure you want to help every single person. However, that's just not always the case. So let's get, before we get into that, I'm sorry, we're going to get ready to hit our break. So we might have to continue this conversation on Facebook. So for those of you listening on air, we're sorry, we're going to have to take a quick break. We got to, get some shout outs to our sponsors. So, but if you want to continue with the conversation, join us on Facebook on the KLEK page. So I don't want to get too deep into that discussion. Are there any other thoughts you all would like to share from what we have already discussed? Maybe talk about time. Only have like 40 seconds. When, where, sometimes, or something quickly we can throw in. Okay. Or how people come to you in the first place.
Okay.
Okay.
We have 30 seconds. Or do you want to just hold off on that until we come back?
Jessica, you want to roll with that?
Sure. So the way that people get in contact with us, it can be through themselves personally, through a family member, the defense attorney, the prosecuting attorney. Anybody is able to just call us up and say, hey, I think this person will be a good fit for mental health court, Project Second Chance. And myself or the other coordinators in the other counties will get their information and reach out to them and get them scheduled for an assessment. And we will go from there.
All right. We'll be right back after these announcements. All right. Perfect. Perfect timing. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's checked in on our Facebook Live feed. If you have any questions, comments, please throw them out there. Any experience you've had working with individuals in the drug court or in the mental health field, anything you feel the community needs to know. For those of you listening on Facebook, please share them in our comments. We'll be happy to share them on air. That's what this discussion is all about. It's about getting as much information out there as possible so that people know their options. Before we go, get back into the other discussion, let's talk about that. People knowing their options. Do you feel that there are a greater number of people untreated, unserviced, because they simply just don't know what's available to them?
I definitely believe that that's true. And the other side of that is the stigma that comes along with having a diagnosis, which I don't like saying that, but, and the way that I present it to a lot of the people that I come in contact with is you wouldn't be ashamed of having high blood pressure or feeling a way about having high blood pressure. And the other side of that is I don't walk around with a badge that says, oh, I have high blood pressure. So if we get these things under control, people don't know the issues that we're living with if we're taking care of ourselves appropriately. And so part of mental health is reducing that stigma, ensuring that we are taking care of ourselves and doing what we need to do to put forth the best versions of ourselves. And that's the way that I present it to when I come in contact with those in the community and my clients as well.
Okay. So Jonathan, and we have about a minute and a little over a minute before we go back on air. What are some of the demographics you can share as far as not necessarily racial, but let's go with age? What are some of the breakdowns that you have seen? Maybe who receives or who needs or who comes in the most, or I don't know how to, really ask that.
Well, I don't have that data right in front of me, but I do recall that we've had some individuals that have been in their 60s and 70s.
Oh, wow.
The youngest participant I can recall from Craighead County, I believe, was 18 or 19 years old. But I think, typically are falling in those 30s and 40s individuals that may have seen a few charges come through, and those attorneys are recognizing that individual as somebody who could benefit from treatment, because either substance related charges or crisis screening, suicidal behavior, threatening behavior, things like that, that often is a flag for those individuals to get referred.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, welcome back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. My special guests are Jessica Parker and Jonathan Edwards from Mid-South Health Systems in partnership with Arissa Health. Thank you all so much again for joining us. For those of you who are just now joining, we have been talking about mental health court for those individuals that have mental health issues that have or possibly been diagnosed. And this is a way for them to hopefully prevent them from going to jail if they have faced some legal issues. And so if you want to go back and recap, you can catch us after we get done. But we're going to continue on with our conversation and talk about who's eligible and then who's not eligible for your services.
Well, one of the eligibility criteria does involve screening for certain types of charges. So there is Arkansas statute that sets up certain serious felonies involving violence, things like murder, aggravated robbery, certain types of burglary that involve use of a weapon, things like that, that would be considered serious felonies involving violence. Those are excluded. Individuals charged with those types of charges would not be able to be extended or offered this program. Sexual offenses, things of that nature are not able to be included. But there are a large number of charges that does leave available.
Okay.
Thefts, drug charges. I mean, I can't list off all the things, but there's a lot of things.
And what if, like, there was a story here in Cricket County, it's been several years ago. An individual, I don't know if they were teenagers at the time, they were younger than me, of course. They were acting out and they caused some property damage. It wasn't significant, but it was still, they entered a space and they caused a little damage with that person, and they were known to have a mental health disorder. Um, would that person be eligible for your services? Or would it be determined the amount of damage they caused and whether it fell under misdemeanor or felony?
Well, we can take Class A misdemeanors, which are the highest misdemeanor, and felonies, as long as they don't have those ones that are excluded. And usually causing damage, things like that will fall under criminal mischief. And we've had a number of individuals that have had that type of charge. This is an adult mental health court.
Okay.
You have to have individuals who are at least 18 years old. The juvenile court system will handle things a little bit differently.
Okay.
So it sounds like that individual may have been a possible candidate had it been around or referred at the time.
Okay. We have some comments in our Facebook Live feed. Ms. Keisha Hagan says, oh, this is a previous comment related to a previous comment. She says, that is so true. There are stigmas and stereotypes concerning mental illness and receiving help. And we'll definitely get into that again deeper in a moment. Christy says, both of these individuals are part of our CCBHC team and provide services, fabulous services, ACTMH and SUDCOD. Of course, I know nothing about these acronyms. Resident SUD treatment, care coordination, and etc. You all do so much. Sheena Leifspear, I apologize if I messed that up. She says MHC changes lives, second chances, education, and advocacy. Thank you. Shadun says treatment courts are not a get out of jail free pass. Oh, okay, we talk about that too. These individuals are involved in a rigorous program with a significant level of accountability. Chris says yes, rigorous in all capital letters. Let's go back to some of the other services that okay. no, before we do that, the stereotyping and stigmas. Um, Even when people you're in court or they're in court and you're offering them this service, do you ever have people just reject you flat out, like, I don't need that, I'm fine. Like they feel they don't need your help. Then
Definitely.
Absolutely. I think there's a number of individuals that have been referred, and I've done the screening with them, and it's kind of got to be a voluntary program on that individual's part, and they can choose to go with the traditional court system, or they can choose to take the treatment court approach. And I think
Okay.
that stigma is a hurdle for a number of individuals because they would maybe rather be seen in that light as opposed to needing mental health treatment and
Mhm.
difficulty with stigma.
And we as a people, and I want to say Black people especially, we need to get over that mindset and start receiving the help that we need. I know all families of all ethnicities suffer, they suffer, experience different issues, and we all need help. But I can speak personally from my community. We are very reluctant. We don't even like to go to the doctor for a regular checkup. We'd rather be on death's doorstep before we get any help, and that's not good. We need to start changing that narrative and start leaving a different legacy for our children. Um, and I'm sure you all have seen families with young children that do not get the help they need in a timely manner and what impact that can have on the family. I'm sure that's a whole other conversation. Okay. Let's talk about the rigorousness, if that's even a word, of the treatment that you offer. And this is not a get out of jail free pass. But let's definitely talk about that as well. So those two components. Who would like to take it away?
So, in pleading into mental health court, we do assist our participants with getting out of jail, but they do plead guilty to their current pending charges, and they are expected to participate in treatment and in those status hearings as prescribed by the treatment provider and by the courts. So at the beginning, treatment is definitely more rigorous because we need to know what is going on. We need to be able to hold you accountable. It's just that accountability portion. So they're being seen a lot more often than someone who's in phase 5 and getting ready to graduate.
Okay.
So as we progress, as they are able to progress through the program, they get a little more freedom and get a little more time off from treatment. It's because they've earned it. It's a privilege because they are showing that they are able to to do these things. And our main goal is to assist them with being more independent and getting them back on their feet in the community. And the best way to do that is still being able to watch them as they progress through the program, but still giving them some leeway to kind of navigate those things.
Okay. And I know this is probably the question. However, have you seen, can you kind of give a rough estimate? I know, sorry, I'm asking statistics here of people that you tried to help and they just flat out said, you know what, or they've gone to the program a week, a month, and then you're just like, I'm just say no. And they end up, in the regular jail system and go, go to jail, go to prison, whatever the case may, whatever the path is. Can you kind of give us some guesstimates of
We,
how often you've seen that?
unfortunately, we do see that. And when I used to tell people, go through the handbook with them about what is expected of them in the program, I told them, the two easiest ways to get removed from this program are one, repeatedly not show up. I mean, we'll work with you, but if you repeatedly don't show up to treatment, to probation, to court, you can't participate in the treatment court. And then the other way was to repeatedly be non-compliant. And we will work with those that are non-compliant. We use a graduated sanctioning system so that things get, a little bit more severe along the way. And we try to learn and understand what it is that may be at the root of that problem. and try to work with that individual along the way so that hopefully we can get towards compliance. But I would say that I don't even know how to guess what that number is.
Okay. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. That's fine. I'm sorry. But we have some more comments I want to share. And I'm gonna read them all, then I'm gonna go back to one in particular. Okay, so Brad High says no longer criminalizing mental health. I'm gonna put a pin in that. That's what I want to get back to. Shadon says treatment core participants are able to access the array of services made available through CCBHC, the team. And Keisha says, yes, accountability is crucial in MHC. Um, Christy says, in the Black family, it's common to say things like, what goes on in this house stays in this house. So help is often shunned because of mental health issue being crazy, as we've heard. That's just something that people, anyway, makes family look bad. This is a major hindrance to many minorities receiving the help they need. And Shadon also says, as folks are progressing through the program, the idea is to help increase autonomy and support them in efforts to increase support they receive in community, family support groups, etc. Thank you all for these comments. Loving it. So definitely want to go back to the criminalizing mental health aspect. We have had constant communication, constant conversations with the chief of police and other law enforcement, and we've talked about incorporating more mental health workers um, into, or migrating, I guess, say, into the police department or law enforcement um, facilities, because we see so many stories of people. We, yes, people post a lot of videos now with camera phones being widely available, but we only catch a snippet of what actually happened in that moment, and so everyone's enraged at the outcome of the situation. But sometimes we on the outside think, well, what if a social worker was there? What if someone who knew how to talk that person down was there? Let's talk about that aspect and what's really feasible. What what's really real? What's the reality of having a social worker, or mental health worker in those cases? I'm sorry, I'm not asking the question right.
I have heard that suggestion before. I do know that within the last couple of years, there has been an increase in crisis intervention team training for officers. So that would be sheriff's deputies and police officers. There are a couple of ladies that are involved in that training at Mid-South Health Systems, and they do an excellent job. And those officers become specialized, kind of like you would say, like, you know, a SWAT team is specialized for certain things. The CIT officers are specialized in helping to deal with those mental health issues and those mental health calls, and helping those individuals in that particular need to get to the right type of help and support for whatever is going on in that situation. Um, I don't know how close we will be to seeing social workers or counselors working for the police departments, but I feel like the CIT officers might be the direction that we're currently seeing the approach from law enforcement.
Okay. We have some more comments. Let's see. Mr. Brad says, Mid-South manages and has a great staff that run the Craighead County Crisis Stabilization Unit. This is a great program for the Mid-South catchment area. Okay, and then Christy says that's what's great about having CIT. You might have to explain what that is, please. And then, okay, see what's CIT? Oh, crisis. I'm sorry, you just mentioned.
Crisis intervention team. And
Okay.
the 40-hour training that officers, law enforcement officers, can go through to get certified. And then those individuals are the ones that, when there is a call that would come in that maybe has a description that says, okay, this is maybe mental health, this may be substance related, those types of things. Those individuals are better trained about how to communicate, how to approach and work with those individuals so that those situations don't escalate in ways that they don't need to.
Okay. And then Christy mentions there's funding that comes out nationwide for clinicians being embedded with law enforcement officers. And then Shadon says crisis intervention teams are a reality in many communities across the country. Our agency partners with the local law enforcement agencies to provide CIT training to law enforcement agencies in our area. Work very closely with law enforcement, providing consultation regarding cases that may involve individuals with mental health. Um, and Christy says the funding for those programs are competitive and limited. Um, and so yes, thank you all for sharing that information. So there is some funding, it's limited, competitive. So if someone wants to apply, um, now would that be a conversation you all will start with? Say so. Yeah, sorry. So say JPD decided they want to add maybe more officers or someone just for that department alone. Would they be the ones to apply for the funding? How does that work?
I don't have the answer to the
Okay.
question. I would
Well,
not.
Christy, if you have the answer, let us know. We need to make sure that we're getting all the help for and all the services we can in our area. There's so many people that go unserved on a daily basis, and I know you all are doing the best you can with the staff and the resources that you have. But I'm sure there's still some people that fall through the cracks. And again, as you mentioned before, there are just some people who simply refuse your services, and you can't drag them in and make them, receive your services. But I really hope that we see an increase of people that know that you are there to help them and not hinder, not hurt them, and they really take advantage of what you have to offer. I want to go back a little bit to the part. Go back, okay, where Shadon mentions how the individuals who go through the program they receive it says basically increased support they receive in the community, family support groups, etc. Let's talk about why it's so vital that we as a community support people who are one having a mental health issue, they have a mental health crisis. They may now be facing legal issues concerning centered around their mental health and how they've acted out. Why is it so important for us to gravitate toward them and not just cast them aside? Anybody?
Jessica's thinking on this one.
Jessica, would you like to chime in, Jessica?
That's a difficult question
Okay,
to answer.
I'm sorry.
Part of it goes back to ensuring that we're reducing the stigma. We
Okay,
do not want these people who live with the mental illness to feel like they're an outcast or not a part of the community. So we do want to ensure that we are, even if we can't offer the services. So speaking as just a person in the community, if I didn't know what to do, ensuring maybe I can point that person in the right direction. So we do have mental health first aid where we go out into the community and offer mental health first aid training to the community to teach them about the signs and symptoms and give them resources to direct people who they feel may need these services too. So at the end of the training, they those participants do leave with information of, okay, there's a Mid-South Health Systems in this area or the area, or even not a Mid-South Health Systems, just so that if they come into contact with someone who they believe may need these services, they can say, well, I know Mid-South Health Systems does X, Y, and Z.
okay. I'm going to circle back on that because I wanted to ask another question. I'm glad you mentioned about the first aid aspect of that. Chrissy says, okay, let me go back. Um, oh, shoot, sorry. Okay, so Brad says Mid South does all the CIT training in Jonesboro for the Jonesboro Police Department, other regional law enforcement departments. Shadon says MSHS has been very active in pursuing those funding opportunities in partnership with local government agencies. Chrissy says state and local governments can apply. Brad says we need more people to support our local crisis stabilization unit. Brad, please let us know how we can do that. Brad also says Arisa Health manages 2 of the 4 crisis stabilization units in the state of Arkansas. Shadon says we have some community-specific mental health first aid trainings that will be offered soon. And we're going to pause right there. We're going to take a break. We're going to continue the conversation on our Facebook Live feed. And then when we come back, we will wrap up our discussion. So please don't go away. We'll be right back after these announcements. Okay. And so then Christy says, great, Jessica, MHFA training is important. Okay, so you mentioned about the first aid, mental health first aid. And maybe this can be an extended, different conversation. I can remember, I've been in Jones for like over 20 years, and I can remember the churches, you know, being hubs for different programs, and they allow people to come in to offer maybe training information or something about different programs that are happening. And I'm not going to say what churches are not doing. However, I would love to see that be more of a reality again, or that be more, people are aware that, okay, if you attend a certain church, there are individuals in the church that are trained to help you until you get the services that you need. Okay. I know there's a question in there. My brain is kind of like,
So we do offer that training. So I'm a certified instructor. Jonathan is a certified instructor. The way to get that training is to reach out and just say, hey, we are interested in this training. What do we need to do to set it up? And there are a few other trainers with Mid-South Health Systems as well, and we will set it up and come out and provide that training for those who are interested.
Because there are times that I know, well, I don't know. From what I've seen, from my experience, there are people who may be members of certain churches. And once they have an issue, sometimes when people don't understand what their issue is, they get kind of pushed to the side. There's less interaction, and that person with that issue eventually falls off or falls away, and then no one really recognizes until they haven't been around in a while. I'm sorry. So can you speak on that a little bit?
I do feel like when people don't know about something, or maybe they have misinformation about an issue, that tends to cause separation, and people will distance from one another. People will end up getting marginalized. And I feel like mental health is just one of those areas where there has been a lot of misinformation. There has been a lot of stigma, and being able to receive that right information can help people see other individuals with a much more empathetic and compassionate approach, which I think is what's needed. And I believe I've seen that in churches that I have attended as well. Just individuals seemingly cast aside or marginalized because of those differences and that lack of understanding and empathy and compassion for that.
Thank you for that. I know you mentioned earlier that you all have seen individuals in the elderly age group. Does Mid-South have, outside of the mental health court, do you all see individuals do you have I don't want to say a high number of elderly clients, but a significant number of elderly clients?
I don't know where that cutoff would be for sure to say high number versus a significant number, but yes, we do have individuals that are elderly, that are regularly seen by therapists or one of our medication providers. And we do offer a range of services for for all age groups, really. There's children's services all the way through adulthood and elderly individuals.
Righty, thank you for that. I want to say welcome back to Community Conversations. For those of you listening on air, we just had to cut right in. Sorry about that. But we have some more comments from our Facebook live feed. Mr. Brad Hyde says, contact your representatives or speak to the leadership of DHS and tell them how important the community thinks the need for the crisis stabilization unit, and how Mid-South ERISA is uniquely qualified to provide that oversight within our mission. So again, for those of you listening, we know people with mental health issues. We know people that are being untreated. We know people that may be facing legal issues concerning their mental health, as a result of their mental health issues. And so we want to get them as much help as needed. We have a crisis stabilization unit. Let's ensure they're getting the help they need without going straight to jail and then run the risk of not getting any treatment whatsoever, worsening the effect of their condition. Reach out to Mid-South Health Systems if you have any questions. All of the wonderful therapists will be happy to help you in any capacity, answer any questions, or direct you to the exact department you need to seek the help in. Shadun says, we have offered some mental health first aid training that have been specific to religious organizations. We're hoping to offer more of those trainings throughout our catchment area for free. So again, those of you in churches or other religious organizations, any organization, please reach out if you would like to have some individuals trained in mental health first aid so that you can recognize the signs and symptoms early enough, hopefully, to prevent any major issues from happening or any major things from occurring with an individual, and they can get the help that they need before it goes too far. And then Christy says, Mid-South Health System sees all people. We do service the geriatric population. I can't even imagine what it's like being elderly. And I know elderly, there's different categories or age ranges, but just say over 60, 65 and beyond. Living with a mental health issue that's either untreated, or undertreated, and then already feeling like the community has already cast you aside because you're not a part of the normal working class, for one. So you're almost already isolated to a degree, depending on their health, their physical health. They can be limited in their engagement in their community, and a number of other things. So would imagine that worsens or heightens their mental health issues. You can help me out, please, on that.
Well, I can recall from training in mental health first aid, one of the things that we do is an age of onset, and I think it's in the youth material. And one of the things that surprises people is that the average age of onset for depression, that number is much higher than what they would expect. And part of the reasoning is for those elderly individuals, they're in a stage of life where maybe they aren't having to work, they don't get to see their loved ones as much. Individuals that they love and care about may be farther away or passing away, or just there's so many things that change at that stage of life, that depression can become more of a factor in that age group. And it's if those stigmas and those lacks of support and lack of information are there, then those individuals can struggle. And so that's one of those areas mental health first aid can help with, in recognizing those signs and symptoms so that those individuals and those people that have learned that information and know how to reach out.
All right. Well, as we're getting ready to wrap up, I want to say thank you so much to you, Jessica and Mr. Jonathan, for joining me today. And thank you for everyone that checked in on the Facebook Live feed, those that work at Mid-South or with ERISA Health. And just thank you to every other person who's checked in, who's listening. Share this information with every single person that you can think of. let's get individuals in our community the help they deserve, no matter what their race, ethnicity, their age, their gender, none of that matters. It's about the individual person, the total person. Let's give them the help that they need today. So if they have a mental health issue, please reach out to any one of the wonderful staff members. They'll be happy to help you and direct you to where you need to go. If you would like more information about the mental health court, please tell people quickly, about a minute, 2 minutes. How can they find out more information about the mental health court?
So I am the coordinator for the Crittenden County Mental Health Court. They can reach me directly at 901-290-3697. Again,
Okay.
that number is 901-290-3697.
3697.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
As the former coordinator in Craighead County, I can tell you that the cell phone number to reach out to contact, which will go to Tyler Jackson, is 870-243-7921. And that is a work cell phone number. So I'm not giving out our personal stuff on the air without
Okay. All righty. So Tyler, hopefully people call you for assistance. And we need to get our community members as much help as possible. We want to let them know they are part of this community. They're valued, and we respect them no matter what the issue they face are. And we don't want to see anyone go to jail unnecessarily. So I want to thank you all so much for checking in. Keisha says great job. Jessica and Jonathan. Shadon says fantastic job. Thank you for the opportunity to share information about these important services. Keisha's excellent conversation. I really appreciate you all so much. I know we have so much more we could cover with other mental health related topics. And don't worry, you all will be back. Someone of y'all will be back. So we're going to keep this conversation rolling throughout the rest of the year. So, but thank you all for listening, supporting Kelly K, 102.5 FM. Thank you to everybody listening on our Facebook Live feed. We are your community radio station. We're here to serve you. Have a great and blessed day. All right. Thank you all so very much. We're going to stop the live feed. Thank you everyone on Facebook for chiming in. And y'all have a great and blessed day as well.